Good evening and welcome to the September 19th of 2023 public board meeting of the Kingston City Land Bank. My name is Mike Gilliard. I am the executive director of the organization. We do ask that members of the public limit their comments to no more than 2 minutes per speaker. And with that, I turn it over to Mr. Board Chair, Daniel Cantor.
Hello, everyone. Oh, we're going to flash this. So we did not meet in August, but the work certainly did not let up. So let's see. We have a new board member, Rebecca. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad you're here. Along with that, we also are bidding farewell to Christina, who served on the board. I think she started beginning of March. Anyway, she's absolutely wonderful. I have to step away for personal reasons, but we are, she will be missed. Let's see. We currently have 4 properties for sale, which I think is the first. So, as I think everyone knows, 111 Down Street is currently listed. It is on MLS. We're selling it as is and hoping to find a great buyer who wants to restore it. In other news, 124 Franklin, 169 Hurley, and 29 Rogers are all in their marketing period. So applications are due by November 8th. And just like in the past, any information submitted on our website, kclb.org/homes, will get sent to Pathstone, where they will work with buyers through the process. And at the end of all of it, we will have a list of qualified candidates, and there will be a lottery system to choose who gets to buy these incredible homes. So, and we'll have more updates on the homes themselves coming up. And video tours of those properties are in progress. I guess we'll talk about it more later, but the website is finally being redesigned. Joanna and Nate and I have sort of been taking the lead on that, so it's with our graphic designer, Katie Meyer Designs right now, and they're doing a beautiful job. So we saw like a first kind of prototype. It looks wonderful, so now it's on us to kind of populate the site with content, basically, and send them a bunch of stuff. So we're on it. Very exciting, but now old news. The form-based code passed the Kingston Common Council. So for the first time in 60 years, we have a new zoning code in the city of Kingston. This is a good thing for the future of the city and the development of our properties. So very cool. Great job to the Director of Housing Initiative, Bartek Star. We had a wonderful ribbon cutting. Thank you to everyone who contributed, especially Mike, who is now party planner and decorator and doing a job of 47 people. I thought it went really nicely. It was written up in the Kingston Guide, I think just today. Maybe included and I believe we're anticipating closing on East Union
Within 2 weeks. I would say conservative.
Okay. At the end of this week.
Conservatively 2 weeks.
I have to go take pictures.
We're shooting for the end of this week. So
I guess I'll reschedule later. And then German Street will follow within a month or 2. Great. In others, the Kingston Common Council voted to allow us to acquire, should we choose, 7 properties, including 28 Abbey Street, which has been a long time. It's on the list of 36. It's been on our radar forever, and it looks like we're going to be able to rehab it for the second round of Legacy Cities houses. So it joins 4 other properties, which are 52 grand, 488 Hasbrook, 38 Chapel, and
Say Gill Street.
Gill.
I always forget.
69.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't exciting enough, it looks like we may, pending council approval, be the proud owners of 20 Stefan Street, another one that's been on our list forever. Got caught up in title issues and stuff that the city is resolving, and so this was back tax amount was very slightly above what the disposition policy basically gives us right of first refusal for, so it went out to RFP. I don't believe that we are aware of what other proposals may or may not have looked like, but the selection committee is recommending disposal to us. Do you remember what the offer was?
8,600 change.
Yes. We did a lot of debate over exactly what to offer, and I guess it worked. So we're super excited, and that's going to be a great house, and hopefully timing all works out that we can include it in round 2 of Legacy Studies, which would make sense. And thanks to the amazing and literal years-long effort on behalf of Mike, we closed on 156, 174 Second Avenue, which is 3 parking lots that were sort of the missing piece of what we now have as an entire city block to hopefully develop. So that's pretty cool. I think that's it for me. Okay.
Could I make a recommendation?
I totally forgot.
I know.
All the beginning parts.
It's been 2 months.
I'm gonna say
Thank
I
you,
called,
Nate, for another.
I'm gonna say I called to order, keep it please. Let's do a roll call.
It's too
Just
exciting.
drop that in. My name is Daniel Cantor, board chair.
I'm Rebecca Holderness. Joanna Dorman.
Nate Hagan, Vice Chair.
Aaron Chilowich, treasurer.
All right, that is our statement of quorum. We have quorum.
Who's
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Stacy, who's our accountant.
Hi, Stacey.
This is Rebecca, our new board member. And that's Owen, our construction project manager. I'm sorry.
We're not on the board, so.
They do not contribute to quorum, but they do contribute.
No.
Literally. So now gossip.
Sorry.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to accept the prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube.
Motion to accept the prior meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor of accepting prior meeting minutes as uploaded to YouTube? Great, thank you, everybody. And then we will still have to approve the agenda of this meeting, this beautiful agenda that Michael earlier put together for us.
Thank you.
And a truly exceptional board count.
Very good.
Thank you. 15 appeals.
Anyway.
Motion to approve.
All in favor of approving this meeting's agenda? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Since we don't have our secretary's minutes.
Yep, on it.
He only knows the votes.
He does. Good.
All have passed unanimously, that's fine.
Thank you. Does anyone know the Wi-Fi password for the city of Kingston? I have it.
Don't
but I
say
don't-
that out loud because I'm.
That's true, thank you.
But if you write it down for me, that would be great.
It should say that on the computer after you get it once.
No, I didn't have it last time.
Oh,
I think this is.
Oh, yeah. Okay, great. Rebecca, you should have that too if you don't already. So why have I passed it for this video?
Sorry.
Is it the first one capitalized?
I'm not gonna get on Wi-Fi. I have enough to absorb. Not being distracted.
We'll work on it. Okay. Now, we have a public comments period. Seeing no members of the public present, I believe we can get. Michael,
Yes, sir.
give us an executive director's report.
I would be happy. Thank you. Good evening. Hi, everybody. Hi, Aaron. Aaron, can you hear us okay? Good. Okay, cool. So just to kind of recap, because it's been 2 months, I generally try to break down my reporting into those 4 categories on the sheet. So it's the pipeline properties. Those are the properties for which we're considering taking on and expending resources and time and money, which we may have been presented with, which we may not have finalized our decisions on, but which we're considering, which we are somewhere in that ethereal aspect of our work. Then we have the pre-development properties. Those are the properties for which we have committed to a timeline and a plan and resources and budget and are moving forward with towards a closing under either the state programs or the programs that come from outer space or whatever it is, but various opportunities have been identified. Working on that. Property sales, as Daniel mentioned, I'm also super happy that we actually have something, it's been a while since we've been able to talk about that. So we have properties and property sales. Then I talk about funding opportunities, new funding opportunities. When we've secured funding, it generally moves to the finance committee, and that's where that gets picked up there. Mr. Finance Committee Chair, Treasurer, like that. Then I have another that's a catch-all for things that I forgot to talk about. Yeah. So in our pipeline, as Daniel mentioned, we have 7 properties under Resolution 66 that the council passed this year. Not to rehash everything, I guess, that you've already covered. I will mention, though, we have 2 single-family homes. We've got 28 Abbey and 177 Murray. And Abbey is definitely fitting into the category of we feel like if the timelines line up for working under the Legacy Cities program, it will probably very likely be a property that we develop as affordable housing under that program. I would say Murray is a big maybe. But in order to turn that maybe into a decision, we've requested and received, so thank you, City of Kingston. I know you're watching this, Spartak eventually. For the license agreement. So we have a license agreement to conduct pre-development activities at no cost to us. So this is just, time put into it, but we won't be expending any dollars until the board has made a decision. But this could include testing, some possible quotes related to demolition. This is all quoting work. We'll come back with some recommendations probably at the next ADC meeting. Everyone in here is almost done ADC. Okay. So those are the 2 single-family homes in our pipeline, 5 vacant lots. There's Teller, Hanratty, O'Reilly, Belmont, and Third. Third is a property for which the Kingston Land Trust is interested in potentially, as is a neighbor on the O'Reilly property. They understand the constraints that we are under with things being out of our control on this judicial action. They're following the process as closely as we are. Originally, just to recap, we were working under an agreed upon timeline to commit to resolve these dispositions so we could acquire them in September of 2023. It is now September of 2023. The judicial action process the city has never undertaken before, but it gives them that comfort that they feel that they need with their perception of the risks associated with disposition of properties that they foreclosed on. Has not yet commenced, but I expect it will commence soon, and I expect we'll know a timeline. But once again, we're kind of the guinea pig for that. When properties come out of that, we would then be able to acquire them. So the council has approved the sale of the properties, but Corporation Council has not yet resolved their resolution of perception of risk. It's probably one way to say it. So, yes, we could talk about it more. If anybody has questions, it's happy to. As Daniel mentioned, hooray, 20 Stefan, we found out earlier today. I'll say this for the ghost of Bob Dennison, only the ghost who's not in this room.
I think he's a guy.
For the record, the apparent successful respondent is what we are. The plan is to, I believe the plan that we were talking about earlier today, and I've made a recommendation to the ADC committee, is to request that the City of Kingston prioritize this properties when they submit as part of their judicial action package for the 7 that I was talking about before. And so that it kind of tracks along the same timeline, because if we're going to develop it under Legacy Cities, it has to be on the same timeline. We can't wait 3 or 4 months for the council to make a vote and start that process. So that's where we're at with that, in those two categories of pipeline properties. New foreclosures, we just got back from the New York Land Bank Association meeting in Lake George. There was a lot of discussion around the Supreme Court ruling, and everyone is sort of still navel gazing. There's nothing definitive, but everyone took great solace in underscoring the fact that despite the fact there was a foreclosure moratorium that passed the House and Senate at the end of last session, it has not been presented to the governor. So it's now September, and what that probably means is that there's a thoughtfulness around the idea of what that could actually do to land banks throughout the state. And it may not be presented until December. It may be presented with amendments to allow carve-outs for vacant and abandoned properties, which would give us the ability to acquire properties if the city were to continue in this way. But either way, the city could still be conducting foreclosures now. Not that anyone's advocating for that, but there's nothing stopping the city from conducting foreclosures and completing foreclosures, even if there's a moratorium in place, because the way that language is written, they couldn't sell them into the moratorium. So that's a mouthful, but that's kind of, I think, worth stating and restating where we're at with that. Yeah, so the last category, sorry. No. So NCST, National Community Stabilization Trust, is the organization that we entered into being their sole and first contact for Ulster County should properties come to them through the banks. My report this month is that we've not received any contact from NCST, and so no updates on that. So 8 properties in the pipeline, same as last month. Pre-development, we have 7 properties, down from 8 last month because Downs thankfully moved into the sales category. So Legacy Cities 2, Gilbrand, Hasbrook, and Chapel, and maybe Abbey and Stefan, although those will stay up in the pipeline until they move down to the pre-development, until we've been able to get them there. I don't know if anybody else really cares about these numbers. I like keeping them in their pockets. So architecture updates probably will be forthcoming later in this meeting from Owen and the Design Committee, at the ADC and Design Committee updates. Electrical service cleanouts, asbestos, lead, property surveys are all done. Thank you to Owen and Kyle for getting that work done. That was approved, I think, at the last board meeting. So a ton of things. I got scared the heck out of me. I ran into one of the electricians at Grand Street. Like people were running all over the building. So it was a lot of work. It's done. Thank you, Owen. Thank you, Kyle, who's not here for the property surveys. So 3rd Avenue, we have, as Daniel mentioned, closed on 2nd Avenue. Hooray. We have a kickoff tomorrow with our civil engineer and the consulting team. That is exciting to be at that point in the board package. We've circulated the last presentation that was made by that group at the ADC meeting, and also the map, the topography map that was circulated by the civil engineer, showing, I think by process of elimination, where we need to deal with the water, the low points on the site. So that's the first topic of conversation tomorrow. We'll have more updates at ADC, we'll have more updates till the end of time, but excited to kind of be at that point where we're starting to get all the right people in the room talking to each other. Property sales, Daniel mentioned 4. No further updates beyond what you mentioned, Daniel, other than to say thank you so much to Kyle and Owen for the paper cuts with the state of New York. Reporting documents process that came to us 12 months too late, but was a fire drill and required looking back 12 months with all these crazy sign-offs and re-sign-offs and all this stuff. So that was one piece of many different, we didn't bring anyone else in on it. It was just, I imagine, Owen, correct me if I'm wrong, but like an accurate picture of it is just trying to bang your head through a table. What the process looked like. But we got through that. That will allow us to close on Union in the near term that we needed to do that all of a sudden. That was a new process. And then probably we'll be discussing later at the comms committee, the new campaign for the sales and marketing of the next 3 homes, which is really exciting. Next category is pending new funding opportunities. We have at least $4.2 million, same as last month, that we're moving towards, but that is $500,000 removed and a new $500,000. So the $500,000 that left, I think it's safe to say that the congressional funding, for which we've not heard anything for 3rd Avenue for our request for this year, is dead. We'll make an updated request next year, and my understanding is if you keep knocking on the door, they get to know who you are, and eventually your applications get better. To start from the top, to that $4.2 million Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund grant, minimum award $2.5 million for infrastructure for commercial space on 3rd Avenue. ESD recommended that we apply in the fall after we finish this sort of preliminary architecture, civil engineering, planning, massing, preliminary read from the planning board, all this stuff that could take place, may take place in the next month, but I wouldn't want to rush it, although we can reapply. By applying, you're not excluded from future applications. They will give you feedback. So for discussion in the next 30 days, depending on how it firms up between all the professionals talking to each other, and if we feel like it's something that we want to commit to now to the state, or if we want to wait another quarter, which would be first quarter next year. We will need to incorporate some mixed use into the property, into the project to qualify for that funding. ARPA/SLFR, which I have no idea what that means. $1.1 million as a subrecipient. We're still waiting on the city of Kingston to finalize their agreement. We hope to have a meeting after the 20th of this month, which is tomorrow, because the Corporation Council is finishing an unrelated labor-intensive matter that came in front of them. So that's taken them off of working with us on this. LBI, phase 1, Land Bank Initiative, phase 1, $100,000 left in the first year's allocation of funding, the first year's award. Happy to report that thanks to Stacy, we've now submitted $1,000. So we're closing out first year's grant. Hope to see it soon. Fingers crossed. I think it'll be soon. So that's closed out. We've also been invited to apply for next year's. So that will go in. I would like to do it this week. That will be another $200,000 to fund operating for the organization in 2020. Sort of 2024. It's ending in September 29th. It starts September 29th of this year. The state kind of got its timelines for the contracts a little out of whack. So 1 year under the first grant, 1 year under the second grant, same amount each year. And we are told we will be applying for 2025 funding around this time next year. So that's the update on that. Land Bank Initiative Part 2, Phase 1, which is the $1.8 million that we were awarded by the state, for which we're currently using for pre-development expenses and acquisition funds on 3rd Avenue. We acquired the lots on 2nd Avenue, anticipating reimbursement. We're conducting the preliminary zoning, massing, parking, traffic, civil engineering studies on 3rd Avenue. All the work that I just mentioned that Owen got done on Legacy Cities 2, anticipating, well, having clear indication and approval that we will be reimbursed by the state for that money. So I expect starting next week, we'll start to pull together everything that we need to apply for that and have an update by the next board meeting. But I expected somewhere around 300,000, maybe 315. I don't have my finger on it, but that's good. City of Kingston ARPA nonprofit grant, for which we were awarded $25,000, the maximum amount. Thank you again to Stacy for helping pull together the documents that we needed and the insurance certificates required. I expect to sign that tomorrow. We expect to submit this year based on anticipated expenses that are qualified under the grants. We hope to have that closed out. Our first ARPA grant secured, closed out this year is the goal. And then the big one in my mind around the pending new funding opportunities for the first time in a few months. We're meeting with the Novo Foundation on Thursday. To back up a little bit, the board passed its annual budget in August, as it does. However, that was 1 month earlier than when it usually passes it due to Novo's request that we get it to them. When we did get it to them, I may be wrong in a month on that, but I know we did it a month early this year. We have not heard anything or received any feedback. This is our first meeting with them in quite some time. We'll let everyone know on Thursday what we hear, Daniel and I on that call. And in the other category, just wanted to mention maybe some general updates on properties that we've sold, the as-is properties, considering that we're now considering selling down the street along the same category. 24 Hamilton does not appear to have really started yet. I think there's some issues with environmental conditions that were unanticipated in terms of cost by the purchaser. I know the building department has gotten involved in some potential issues on the site. Don't know anything direct from the owner, but I'd like to suggest that we start giving updates on Henry and on Hamilton on a monthly basis going forward, or maybe quarterly, as much as the board would like to hear what happened to these properties. I was hoping to wait until we heard back from the Novo Foundation on their award to us before we started to put the screws to them about how their property is going that they bought from us. So that is it. Those are my updates. Thank you very much. Oh, do you want me to?
Not for
Yeah, the other one?
the other.
You want me to mention that? Oh, I'm sorry, I totally forgot. So, all right, cool. Thank you, Dave.
So long.
So nothing firm yet, but we were asked by, every year in New York State, there's an organization, another acronym called NYSAFA, which is the New York State Association, FA. I don't remember the last part. They've been around for about 20 years. They're the only original affordable housing development group consortium that was founded in New York City, surrounding mainly like the developers and the funding, the advocacy in the state. It's grown into a statewide thing, so now they have a downstate conference and downstate award, for which they have downstate awards, downstate conference, and a upstate conference, for which they have upstate awards and downstate awards. Got it, I knew I was gonna get that. Our lender on Legacy Cities project that we have under construction now has nominated us for an award under the NYSAFA Upstate 2023 awards, for which the award ceremony would be in November. I don't know any more than that. We sent them some photos, we filled out some forms. It'd be a great acknowledgement of the work that we're doing within at least the stodgy development communities. Thank you for remembering.
NYSA.
NYSA, New York State Affordable, can't remember.
NYSA, and then what are the letters?
FAH,
FAH. Okay.
Association.
Yeah. No, that was like CBC.
I'm gonna be a hell of a Scrabble there, but.
No, you're right, you're right.
The acronym situation.
Oh, yeah.
New York State Association for Affordable.
That's so simple, that's so straightforward, thank you. I get a mental block, I can't spell the word science either. I flip it every time, I can't spell it.
Me, it's I-40.
I know you're right. But I don't spell it.
What words do you
I
say?
don't see.
You're thinking that's kind of.
Lots of red though.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't spell it.
Right click, just right click. That's what I usually do.
Association.
Number of C's and S's.
New York State Association for.
I can never get occasion.
Ooh, yeah.
It's possible. Okay, thank you for a wonderful detailed report and congratulations on that nomination. Oh, it's just there. We just. Okay, okay, now starts the Aaron portion of the show. It just goes on wild. Kick off with ATC.
Sorry I'm not there, so you have to watch the screen. I'm gonna delegate as usual, and to start, we'll begin with the Legacy Cities 1 construction and finance updates, for which I will hand it over to Owen and then Kyle. So Owen, if you want, Owen, do you want me to share the screen, or does everybody have them in front of them? I have it open. I can share your charts.
Do that, will you do that?
Sure.
Yeah, of course. I have
You
it.
have the first folder with the piece of paper. That'd be good.
If it's not Lisa.
It is pretty.
It's 5 o'clock, but.
I mean, if you have copies for everyone, otherwise, put it up there.
Let me make it a little bigger here. Hold on. Can you all see that?
ADC got this update a couple days ago, but basically on a similar story with Legacy Cities projects, we got 4 houses, as you're aware, 2 of them are done, are in the process of getting transferred to the new owners. That's German and Union, and then Hurley is quite done. They're basically working on punch list activities right now, so I'll get to Franklin in a minute, but those houses kind of leaped ahead at the end, and little things to be done there, but essentially nearing the finish line. They which is basically our construction schedule says they're done now, they're working on the punch list now, and we connected them with a subcontractor to try to get railings done in a nice way, but that subcontractor can't come and install till October 6th, so our final inspection's not gonna be until October 6th. No problem for the big project that I see, so, Hurley's good. Rogers is the one that hasn't shown up here as behind its own construction schedule, and it continues that. I would say it's, we revised construction schedule, it's slipping against that now. It's kind of a nuanced thing that I wanna communicate to y'all, cause I don't wanna just be like, it's fine, don't worry about it. But I basically wanna say like both things, like it's slipping against its schedule, it's expected to catch up, so it's behind, but don't worry about it yet. I would say like, I think, next month, you should expect some clear indications of like, it's, headed in the right direction schedule wise, or if there's some problem with that, we need to talk about. And then I guess just highlight, we talked about this at AC as well. Oh, I like that I can do this kind of thing now, but.
Like a weatherman.
Yeah. But, I think just to highlight here the fact that we're ending these projects with a contingency, Union spent less of it because it was just sort of a more straightforward project. Other ones spent more of their contingency on these projects, but so we're both ending without burning through all the contingency, and yet it's just highlighting that it's like it's going towards things that were needed. And while there are some discretionary things we're taking care of, a lot of it is going to things that just needed to be done. Underground water lines or sewer lines that need to be taken care of, that kind of thing. So,
Quick question
yeah.
for those two, where the work's basically done, but we still have contingency left. Like,
Yeah.
Do we have things that money's going towards right now?
Great question.
This has been a matter of much discussion.
Not to jump forward maybe I could talk about it at Kyle's updates if you can.
Yeah, okay, I'll wait.
Much discussion like on today.
Okay.
Yeah, I think part of the discussion along the way was like, if we burn through one house, how do we get it from one to the other? We felt like that would be possible, but we just didn't know about the mechanics yet. It doesn't look like we're gonna need to do that necessarily, so the idea is hopefully land the project without doing that, and then we'll figure out who gets the money and how. So, do you have Franklin there, Aaron? Can I talk about Franklin?
Yep. Here it is.
Yeah. So, Franklin is pretty straightforward situation, which is like it's ahead of schedule and on budget. So, so that's good feeling after a long time.
What do you mean?
A long time of trying to get that house to be a house. So
Franklin looks amazing.
yeah,
Like, it's the first time in a little while. It looks so good.
yeah.
It really is nice.
I think I can't remember, Owen, if it was you or if it was Mike, but somebody at ADC mentioned that you guys did something differently this time, and that was the reason why you hadn't had to draw down on contingency at all.
Because if you look at the contingency number, it's $0. So this part of Franklin's, the project that is the current work at Franklin is our experimental zero change order project, which means, well, first of all, we had already done, this is our third GC RFP on the property. It was our third round of actually doing construction in some way on the property. So we've been with the property for a long time, finding out different things about it. We knew more about the property going into this round. And also we knew that this was kind of our last, we just needed to land the plane on this one, and so we spent more time making sure that things were fully scoped, and some of the things that were that might come up got captured, even if they were allowances, so we could draw it down again. So we might wind up with, even though the contract is 311 and change, it may be part of that allowances that might not get drawn down 100%. And yeah, just both us as so the client in the situation and the GC approaching with a different mindset, which is like the client doesn't ask for extra stuff, and the GC knows that there's not like extra things to deal with. So we kind of work together to figure out that it's a model. It's not some magic sauce that we discovered, because if there was a $60,000 problem that had to be solved, would break the model, and we'd be talking about a change order and figuring it out. So, but it is it's nice that we're not doing change orders and we're proceeding with the work. So
Could you just give me the 2-sentence definition of zero change order?
sure, yeah. So like
I think I know what you mean, but I want to make sure that I'm not.
Yeah, okay, so, well, first of all, so a change order is when we've got a contract, and then once we start doing the work, if we need to make changes to price, to increase the price, lower the price, or change the schedule, we make a change order where we're basically amending the contract to do that. And so in this case, we both went in with an intention to not have change orders, and we put it in the contract and in the GC's compensation that there's a bonus for hitting schedule and not doing any change orders. So that's our first line of buffer in the case that it wasn't working, is that the GC could say, hey, I give up. We gotta do a change order, and kind of I gotta let my little bonus go. So
it's part of your contract with the GC, including the bonus. Okay, that's all.
Yeah, and so this is the first time we've done a performance bonus, and why it's working out is because we have like a house we know a lot about at this point, a GC we know a lot about working with. So.
Thank
And
you.
just for clarity, so the reason these are like in different spreadsheets and stuff, Franklin is part of our pilot program, which was the original like tranche of houses that we rehabbed. So this is the last in that program. The other ones are part of the Legacy Cities Access Program, which is a complicated structure. So this is basically a combination of two plans that are not bank loans. We don't have to pay anything back. Like it's very simple.
Yeah,
but
but
not gonna happen again.
and that was not that we ever want scope creep or budget creep, but that was also part of the inspiration for trying to keep this last phase of work here kind of pretty contained, is because it was the last of the money that was available for that, and there wasn't extra waiting anywhere else. So I just wanted to, so that's all I have to say about Franklin. Just to add a couple things to what Mike was saying about the pre-development stuff. When Mike says like those things are done, like electric service and asbestos testing, because we've been adding projects, adding buildings into the project. We've kind of, it's happening a little bit in different phases. So we have some of the houses have electric service, some of them don't yet, and we'll hopefully be figuring exactly who's on the bus, who's off the bus, so that we can keep that bus moving forward. Oh yeah, things are going good with the Legacy 2 and working with the architects, working with the design committee. Even though the design committee has been thrown a bunch, some different curveballs, including but not limited to adding houses to the mix.
We throw plenty of curveballs back.
But it's working out, and I feel great about that. And The other thing to mention is just while, even though it's not like amazing timing, that's while one of the downs is being shown that we're taking down the roof structure of the garage because it's a nuisance for the next door neighbor with the roof shingles and nails blowing into his driveway. So that's just like a favor we're doing to for the neighbor, so we're not a nuisance to him. He's been a good neighbor for us. That's about it for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Your stick with itness is beyond accurate.
So Kyle is not here, it doesn't seem, but
I can pretend, Aaron, if it's helpful to you, or if you would rather do it.
no, you know better than me, so please, let me go to the right one. I think this is the old one. 914, here we go.
So generally, I will admit that I'm not going to do as comprehensive or thorough or helpful of an update as Kyle would do. Unfortunately, he's not here, but I will say that on funding schedule and budget, we are exceeding the budget. We have funding left over, so we're continuing to exceed that. As Owen is exceeding the schedule, we're exceeding the budget anticipations. It does beg the question that Nate had asked and Owen had referred to on Franklin, which is, do we get a promote at the end with the money left over, or what the heck happens to the money at the end that's left over? Because this is a public meeting, I'll just say the question may not have been understood by the lender, but we've asked it for about a year. And so in my experience, you find out around the last requisition, because funding was given by the state of New York to build these buildings will not be given back to the state of New York. So in my experience, it will be a promote. It comes to the partnership. Partnership will divest of it according to the partnership agreement. It's a promote. You're doing a good job, the funding comes through. That's been my experience. I don't think anything else would happen. The bank does not want to keep the money the state gave it, that the state told elected officials that they needed for us to do the building. They don't want to give it back. That's generally how that works. So to be continued on that.
If you need ideas, I have.
I know.
Right here.
There may be opportunities to do things at the end of the project that we otherwise would not have thought that we were going to do. Depending on timing for sales and things like that, it is exciting to have that. We won't do what some other developers do and put in solid gold toilets, for example, with the money that they should be paying subcontractors, but we'll do something better. Another piece that I did forget to mention in my updates is the amazing homeownership manual that Owen put together for the first time. We have a wonderful manual. I'll put it in the board package next month because it'll be finalized by then. You'll have to see it to believe it, but it's the first time.
For the first time homeowners.
First time homeowners manual. It's comprehensive. It's great, and I think
I've been like on a to-do list for roughly 4 years. So thank you.
Oh, that's gonna be so good to.
Can we make sure to give that to everyone that's already bought a home?
the products would be different. It's specific to every single product. Maybe we could get to refining this. We could get to some best practices and things like that. There's elements of it that are universal, but.
Okay.
we just-
Well, green kill would be basically.
We'll see.
Anyway. I can't wait to see it. Thank you.
Aaron, is that sufficient, or would you like me to drill down into any of
No,
this?
that was great, unless anybody else has questions, that was great.
Cool.
I don't know if we should talk about it this meeting, but the reason I was asking about if there was extra contingency is because if there's any opportunity to put that towards defraying some of the additional costs that happen because of the delays in being able to do closing on those two properties.
Meaning the cost of the interest?
Weren't there like additional costs on
We
the property and
have
the
some
homeowners? Yeah.
There's so many additional costs, but we had asked early on, if I'm understanding your question correctly, we had asked if we could use unused funding on Union and German to buy down the price of Union and German. And we did not receive the answer that telegraphed that people understood, they understood the question.
Okay.
So we're hoping that at the end of the project, what we could do, if we could forecast out the funding with a definitive level of surety, that maybe we could use that to provide a second down payment assistance to homeowners or something. Where there's all sorts of weird ideas, but Alternatively, it would come to the partnership, it could be distributed to our partner who, is appreciative of the revenue that they're able to earn off this project. There's a bunch of different things. I just don't know the answer to the question. It's very strange.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like you're thinking along the same lines as I am, so.
Yeah, totally.
And I think we talked about this before, but I'll give my little, just 2 cent seed on this, which is just a caution to make sure that we do leave this construction contingency in the product till we're, I think it's better to say, oh, we might have some leftover money that we can do something exciting on the next project, than to spend it and then encounter something at the end that we're looking at each other to figure out where the money is.
Right.
It's a great point. Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
So then I think the next thing is Third Avenue progress. And this is again where Mike, I think maybe you want to or walk us through kind of how things stand with you kind of did it at the top of the meeting, but is there anything more detail you want to go into?
Sure. Specifically, I think it's best to characterize the studies as ongoing, preliminary, and non-committal. We certainly have the information that we were asking for, which is building typologies that conform with zoning, that can be massed and moved and shuffled around the site based on anticipated phasing and understandings of costs, and including infrastructure costs. We're currently sort of pumping the brakes on this level of investigation because the civil engineer has to tell us where we can build, what we can build. And if you wouldn't mind scrolling down just a little bit, Aaron, that's where we landed the last time, but right below you where you're going, that's what the civil engineer has distributed. So not to get ahead of it, but that's a very large map because it's 47 acres that drain directly to the southeast corner of our site. So one piece of messaging that could be beneficial is that in a climate uncertain and changing world, this site is providing stormwater solutions for 47 acres of Kingston, New York. Just throwing it out there, but we may actually be able to turn what looks to be an interesting opportunity into an interesting opportunity. We have to deal with it one way or the other. It's currently being dealt with by existing conditions on the site. So in the southeast corner of the site, I believe in 1978, there's a concrete vault that was put into the ground that drains back into the sewer line. It was the solution. No, it's really cool. I think it's amazing that it's there. Well, it's very well. Okay.
You should rappel down.
It's small. It's tiny. It's tiny. It's tiny. It's not an underground city below Third Avenue. There's no room for us.
Gold is under there.
But it is the solution that has worked for many decades. The question is, can we continue to utilize that? We hope the answer is yes. We've engaged with the City of Kingston engineering departments. We've had discussions between the civil engineering team and the City of Kingston. Now, for the first time, the civil engineering tomorrow is engaging with the architect group. And we are trying to figure out what this all means. We're feeding them information as quickly as we can. So we have conducted, they'll be finished by the end of this week, hydrant flow tests on 2nd and 3rd Avenue to feed to the civil engineers to tell them what that looks like when the potable water comes onto the site. We have surveys from the engineering team about what the sewer lines look like on all sides of the site. We are moving forward with conducting preliminary site investigation, not capital improvements. We'll be digging test pits. We'll be doing dye tests into that vault to make sure that it does drain where we hope that it does drain. Feeding information into the machine is kind of how I think, that's what I think we're doing, right?
I'm curious if it does become much more extensive project in terms of
The water,
engineering.
yeah.
Will the city contribute to that?
That's a great
I
question.
think that's something that should be pursued because if it was a budget or anything that
Mhm.
the state even has to pay for that, so.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm following up on that is that, I mean, have you seen independent funding sources for things having to do with changes in the water issues in Kingston or whether, I mean, this is not quite a brownfield, I would assume, but are there independent funding sources having to do with that kind of remediation? Flood control for Kingston, that's what I'm trying.
There's funding available that we turned the city on to for upgrade to sewer infrastructure about a year and a half ago, and they were awarded it and they did not choose to target the site as a target area. So there are other pressing issues in an old city like the city of Kingston. We hope that with the Mid-Hudson Infrastructure Fund, it's $150 million that's targeted towards this region for infrastructure upgrades. We'll be able to translate that into the dollars that are needed. The municipality is not currently allocating specific dollars for it. I'm not aware of any.
But there would be something like that, whatever acronym it is you just threw out there, that you could go, this $1 million fund, you could try to get money to support this issue.
I believe that's what the fund is targeted towards. It's for infrastructure and commercial to a certain extent.
So yeah, just you agree and you are potentially, you're open to pursuing that.
I think we should all pay our fair share to solving a 47-acre
I
issue.
agree. And
Sure.
so by looping in the engineering people in the state, in the city, then they're aware when you. It's on someone's radar.
They are aware. So it's a very old, it's been described by engineering. It's an antiquated system that's in need of upgrades, is how it's been typified or characterized to us by the engineering department. It's an 8-inch, relatively not robust combined storm and sanitary line. So sometimes you have separate storm and sanitary. This is such an old infrastructure that it is combined. It's a constraint that we're currently anticipating we can work under with the requirements for stormwater treatment. The city of Kingston can treat 4.6 million, something like that,
I don't know,
gallons
but-
per day. So
But
we're
he
not
was
gonna-
clear that he wasn't worried about this, the plant's capacity.
Yeah.
It was just the regulations
Okay.
said it. This is your plot, this is your development, this is how much water, the rate at which water is going into the system right now. Your activity is not gonna change that, basically, it's the regulation. So you're gonna do what you have to do to, if you're gonna do things that speed up the water, you're gonna do things that slow down the water. You're gonna do both.
I anticipate that we end up with something on the southeast corner of the site that slows the water flow into the 8-inch main dramatically and becomes a feature of the site. That's what I anticipate. The other thing I will mention is that, sorry,
An oasis.
I mean, use your map, yes, I'm right there with you. Anyway,
Sorry.
it's good that we're throwing ideas at the board, but people are coming in and removing the pieces of it that aren't feasible, and I think that's actually really helpful, so.
We're having fun doing it.
Yeah, we totally should. I had the the New York Land Bank Association conference, we had a session on state environmental quality review, which is the oversight of the process by which we have to receive local authority, local approval, and move forward with aspects of the project. The woman who seemed to be very seasoned, very comfortable, she said, if you really get down to the granular level, nobody knows what they're doing or why. Like, no one who does this on the state level understands what they're doing or why. So just follow it. It was something that was put in place with like the Clean Air and the Clean Water Act in the 60s. It's an old antiquated process, but it's one of the many hoops you're going to have to jump through in this process. And, we want to work with you on it. So I think we're still oriented properly.
Any
Process system.
Aaron, I kind of talked about 111 Downs. There's not a ton to say. I don't think we hope to get more offers, and the process will basically be that the acquisition, disposition, and construction committee will review offers. We did ask for a very light version of some of the proposal, and we will make a recommendation to the board, in theory at least, at the October board meeting, pending what comes in. Is that, sorry,
No, that's exactly right. And if anybody, as offers come in, I'm gonna put all the materials that we received from anybody who's put in an offer in the drive, and I created a summary Excel where I'll just summarize the high level of each offer. So far, there's one offer there, and as more come in, you will see it there. So even if you're not on ADC, you are welcome to peruse. Great. I think that is it for ADC for today.
Uh, Great, can I pass it to the finance chair?
Thank you. Hi, my name's Aaron. So on finance today, we have a couple of things. We didn't have a meeting in September. And so thank you everybody. Thank you, Stacy and Nate for accommodating my schedule this month. But the really exciting news is that we have a consolidated financial statement for the last calendar year. So thank you, Stacy, for getting us to this point. Sorry, did someone say something?
I was slightly clapping, sorry.
No, you're fine. I just want to say thank you, Stacy. It's a huge amount of work to get it to this point, in part because we know that our finances, there were a lot of things that had to be reconciled with the auditors, and I speak secondhand, but secondhand, it seems like it was a kind of a big lift to get us to this point, and we're all very appreciative. Even more so because the auditors found very little to of concern. Really nothing of concern. The overall, you can look at the independent auditors report and also the board summary that I circulated back in August, and I can recirculate it. But essentially, there was one minor misstatement, which is normal in the course of kind of the hundreds of different things that are inputted into QuickBooks in any given kind of month or year. And otherwise, they found everything to be in order. It's actually kind of interesting high level look at kind of what our income and assets and liabilities are over the course of a year. It captures things in a way that we don't normally think about it. But this is the full auditor's report, and the summaries on top. I don't know if Stacy, there's anything else you want to say about the audit for last year.
It's different from 2021 to 2022 because we had to consolidate because we're a partner in LLC. So that makes it different. So they had to go and take 2021 and put it in a different format. And so I guess if you took 2021's audited statement and compared it to this, you would have some differences in it only because of the consolidation.
Yeah.
So that would
hopefully it'll get easier each year as we have more entities, because now you've trained our auditors.
And I'm sorry, is this because we did not complete this process last year? Because this is supposed to be the annual meeting, right?
Yeah, we have this annually. It's taken a while this year. It's later this year than probably we want it to be, the statement now, but the books were not in the best shape to do it.
So this
now the
makes
books are in good
great
shape.
sense.
And in January, we're gonna give them the information right away, and hopefully we'll get to the top of the queue. There's also, problems with getting help for them, auditors, so we kind of missed the queue and then we got pushed down the line.
Stacy had to build an airplane in the sky while it was flying,
Yes.
and then train the pilots. That's what I would say.
So,
That's how I understand it.
so we are current or basically. current
Yes, we
with-
just have a tax return that has to be
Following this, we
filed.
can do it.
Yeah, right. So this is on the website, correct? Yeah, if anybody has questions on it or another time, you're welcome to reach to me. It is complicated. Do my best.
Thank you so much.
Amazing work. Do you have more for a treasurer's report?
So yes. So I mean, again, this is because we have a meeting this month. This is very much Stacy's comments, but we can go through the finances and and have a vote. So this is we'll start with the land bank and then move on to legacy cities. This is the legacy cities balance sheet. Here you'll look, Stacy noted a couple of changes under prepaid expenses up at the top. Wait, hold on.
So there's 2 cents in there. It seems like that Mike
Oh,
put in.
this is July. I'm looking at the wrong one. Gotcha.
Oh, that's fine.
I was thinking, there we go. This is what I meant to be looking at. Where is, gotcha. So Stacy broke out, there are a few changes from last month. Stacy broke out the insurance, which again is prepaid and then appears kind of, proportionally each month. She broke it out by the kind of insurance, added workers' comp, and made some adjustments to some of the other insurance policies, and then a few payments, for the first payments for the website redesign. You'll see in 1420 website, here it is in August. Wait, what? There it is, $4,000. Because that work is ongoing right now. And then finally, we continue after last month. This is the balance sheet, not the P&L. Sorry, I'm looking at the P&L. So that's it for the balance sheet. Anything else here, Stacy, I should note?
No.
Yeah, okay. So on the P&L, let me go to August. So one item is that we once again have payroll expenses for the first time. Starting in July, we had it right here, and then we have them again in August. And this is a change because previously we had consultants and not staff. And at Stacy's guidance and related to payroll law, we made the switch over to having staff. So thank you all of our staff for both leading that switch and doing it so seamlessly. Finally, you'll start to see some due diligence work on the legacy cities, on the 7 properties approved by the Common Council for disposition. That's going to be here down in due diligence, stabilization. Wait, it would be, yeah, that must be it. Stabilization and security down here, in August 2023. And then some costs related to, oh, sorry, that's down street, 15,000. That's the stabilization and security related to down street, related to the break-in, getting on-site security, getting the windows and doors, dogs, panels put up for security. And otherwise, things are pretty easy, straightforward month. Any questions on the land bank documents before we move on to legacy cities? All right. I can tell people are thrilled and very excited. So let's go to legacy cities.
So excellent in your report. We don't have any questions.
On the balance sheet for legacy cities, let's scroll down here. Hold on one second. You'll notice that our income continues, the project continues to progress. The assets continue to go up in value as we invest in them. Again, this investment in value, this increase in value is based on how much we spent any given month on any given property through legacy cities. Stacey noted that she added a line item here for the partners equity. So this is Maeda's equity. The reason it's negative is because Maeda didn't contribute any equity to the project. All the equity came from the land bank. So it appears. I'm actually not why. Well, Stacey, why do you know why it appears negative and not zero?
Because at the end of 2022, you have to distribute the net loss based on the percentage. So there was a loss in 2022 because there's a loss because, you know, you're never going to have a profit in this entity. It's basically a loss because of more expenses versus income. There's no income right now. So last year, it was 49% of that loss was passed out to Maeda. That's what that is, 49% last year's. And our equity started at 500,000, and then the loss was passed out to us too, and that's why it's now 487.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense. Okay, thank you. And then lastly, we paid out the last of the retainage payables for German and East Union to Maeda. So those projects are closed out from the GC's side of things, which is wonderful. On the P&L, is there anything here? I think that there's not much on the P&L this month. Kind of
Just noting the interest expense going up, the rates are getting higher.
I think our interest rates have doubled over the course of construction.
Yes.
Yeah. We're at 9.44.
Wow. So that is unfortunate. But it is. Anyways, that is it for my treasurer's report for this month, unless anybody would like to talk through any aspect of any of the above.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor of approving this month? One. Motion passes. Is the communications, community engagement and fundraising chair present?
Is that Aaron?
So we are gonna make a switch so that I'm not just talking in a monologue.
I like.
You're good.
Bartek is going to provisionally take it over, which I'm very grateful for. So thank you, Bartek. You're not here because you have other responsibilities for the city, but when you watch this, know that I am thankful. But I will provisionally give, I will temporarily just give tonight's update. So first item, social media things. There are a few things that we're going to promote over the coming weeks. Of course, the marketing campaign, whenever it's not siloed, the historic innovation award, and then possibly at some point when I after I talk to Mike about whether it's siloed or not, our nomination for the NISAFA award, and then also an event at Franklin, another landscaping day at Franklin, which Bartek is organizing and has scheduled for October 14th. So mark that down in your calendars. It's another day where the board can come out and help beautify one of our properties, and I hear that Franklin is looking wonderful. So I am excited for that, and thank you, Bartek. And that is October 14th. On the kind of ongoing fundraising things, there's not much. The only item is that we submitted the Hudson Valley Community Foundations has a community grant. We submitted a letter of interest. They invited us to apply for the grant. I last night completed a draft of the grant and circulated it to the committee to provide comments on. If you're not on the committee and would like to read over the draft and provide comments on it, please feel free. The grant is due October 1. We're asking for essentially the funds to do the website. and the new portal, which we've already started to pay out. So a portion of it would be a reimbursement, and the rest would allow us to reallocate some existing funds back into the project and use these funds for the website. So, and if you have any other grant ideas, fundraising ideas, both how to do a better job of door-to-door fundraising, which we've struggled with, and how to or other organizations or foundations we should reach out to, please let me know, or Bartek know. Then phase 1 ribbon cutting event, I don't think there's anything else to say. We've talked about it. And then phase 2 marketing, we are in marketing now. So the 2-month period is open. Anybody can apply on our website. It's already on social media, but we now need to kind of put together a schedule of responsibilities and events over the next 7 weeks and change. And I believe Mike and Kyle were meeting with the lender and with Pathstone to start to put together a timeline. And so I don't know if Mike has something to add on that right now, but if not, we'll come back. Mike is raising his hand, so Mike, we'll go for it.
Mr. Chair, for recognizing me, just to give some updates, to add to your updates. Yes, the kickoff is tomorrow with Pathstone. So we sit down with Pathstone, we lay out, as we did last time, a timeline that will be circulated so folks know if they want to plug into different things, there's opportunities. We will be printing 1 million copies of the flyer in English and Spanish based on our public engagement schedule. The bus wrap, I just got the art for that about 2 hours ago. So pending approval of that art, the bus will be wrapped within a week or so. So driving around Kingston will be 2 buses, one side in English, one side in Spanish, zooming all around the place. I think those are my updates right now for that, but just really excited about it. So.
And our flyer is already available here.
In City Hall?
Yeah.
We should do that again. I would love. Yeah, once we find out how many we want to print was the idea,
Okay.
then I'll yeah, but thank you for reminding me. Yeah, they'll be in City Hall.
And sorry, you may have said this.
So maybe you come to the meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, whatever that meeting is, meeting.
We're meeting with you in between the meeting that Kyle and I have to like check in on our things, and then we meet with you, and then we jump into the kickoff of the marketing meeting. You're welcome to stay for it if you like.
Oh, no, I just have some community engagement ideas that come
Yeah.
from my observation of the zoning process
Okay.
and feedback that came from the community during the community meetings. So, so I don't know if they'll fit within this other larger marketing campaign, but I'll suggest them and you'll tell me.
Oh, well, we need all the ideas we can get, to be honest. We've tried many different things and we haven't found the magic.
Let's just have a clear, I thought there was a very, very clear law, a very clear misstep in the zoning communication to the community. And we could maybe pilot something different. And see on a very small level, I think small is really a good idea, but it might open up a communication that would be longer than the marketing period. And then I also think there might be a way for you to create something on the website that would be more interactive, like a meet the contractor, meet the designer conversation podcast or interviews. But anyway, so I'm just going to share those. Useful.
All ideas
Super
helpful and welcome. We add stuff every time we do this.
Yeah.
But yes.
It's complicated. It's a complicated question how communication about all of the stuff that's happening in Kingston probably matters to know. So,
It does.
Our next committee meeting for comms is not for a few weeks, so it might be the kind of thing where once they have the kickoff, maybe next week or early the following week, we can reconvene. Anybody who wants to can reconvene informally to talk through what we want to do. Kind of, I know that I plan on devoting some weekend mornings to going to different events and going door to door different businesses. But we should have a conversation specific to this marketing, and then at the next comms we can talk through the bigger picture kind of communication stuff, I think. if that's works for everybody else.
Sorry, you might
Rebecca,
have,
I'll be honest, I could only hear, oh, now I'm frozen. Nobody can hear what I'm saying. Oh, no.
we can actually hear you.
Oh, you're not frozen.
You're fine. You're just
Not to
Very
worry, not to worry, I love
Okay.
Are we doing direct mailers again?
Yes.
Great.
We are doing everything that we've done previously and we're adding to it. So that's the current plan, but I'm sure there are better ideas in the room. So.
No, I just have an idea and a question, so I'll bring that up on Wednesday, whenever it is that we meet.
Cool.
Yeah, let's put something on the calendar. Or I don't know when it works, but I don't know how Mike, I don't know if Mike, you could take the lead on just scheduling like a 30-minute or 40-minute call, maybe mid to late next week for anybody who wants to join just to talk through marketing.
Yep. You got it.
Great. Any other comms?
That's it for today from the comms committee.
Okay. Mike and I talked a little bit about potentially trying to plan something at Franklin Street toward the end of the year. Cause it's a hell of a house, and perfect for events.
Party?
A party.
Party,
A
okay.
party where we ask people for money.
Fundraising event.
Great, thank you, Chair of everything, appreciate it.
Thank
Our
you all.
Ordinance Chair is not in the room, did you guys meet?
We did.
Would you like to?
We discussed a few things.
I could start.
You can start.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Please do.
One of the things that we touch base on every governance meeting, given that there are no, traditionally the governance committee has looked at like the bylaws and the disposition packages, but all that feels very settled at this point. So we always talk about board recruitment. We did look at what that looked like and felt that we were in a good place right now, but board recruitment will continue. I think that was the substance of the meeting at the meeting. If you agree. That was
I
my-
agree, yes.
Currently have 2 open board seats.
We do.
Am I the only one? That's, I just can't remember what dark touch got.
Just one more year.
Right. Just kidding, just kidding. Great, so continue to encourage your friends, relatives, acquaintances.
Yeah.
Smart people. And sign committee, things are moving along in various areas. I believe this is the most active this committee has ever been, so we are simultaneously working on the website redesign. There's quite a bit of work there. Our new website will have much of the same content that is currently on our website with a lot of additions, particularly to the property pages to add a lot of photos and great stuff. So that's great. Joanna is graciously taking the merch stuff. So expect totes and totes.
And please give me any ideas you might have that you envision for our beautiful merch. Like, do we want to go edgy? Do we want to go very basic? Like,
Really controversial. Yes.
just like thought provoking, or just kind of very like hit. Like, what are we thinking here? Because hip is such a hit word. So anyway, so I think that's where I'm not really an expert in merch design. So, but we can keep it to ourselves. But if anyone has something in their mind that they would just love to see on their tote bag, let me know, please. That's a terrible idea.
Think your board member on a toad.
That's hilarious. That's a new idea.
All his followers are on it.
No, he's just put his little,
Yes.
Instagram account.
Cool, so we're doing that, we're doing the merch, we're planning, we're on standby for anything that may come up with the current tranche of Legacy Cities construction, so various things come in every now and then, we do expect for this, blah, blah, blah. That's in the background, and then we're also designing the next round of Legacy Cities houses, so for that. So for that, we have currently through, we hesitate to say more because it appears one of them is sort of dropped off. But we have at least 3 seemingly quite committed volunteer designers taking the lead on 3 houses, and we may be bringing additionals pending how Abby Stefan and the swim designer is coming along my way. So I do have some people in my inbox who I think would be good. And I guess that's most of what we're doing. Great. We have a second public comments period that I will also skip. But if you're watching on YouTube, thanks. New business, I don't have a ton other than, did I ever officially appoint you to committees? Did I do that over email? Okay, I'm supposed to.
Or something.
What?
Like in a hat?
No.
Have to have some words department.
There will be a t-shirt.
Wait,
I think that I am gonna go to board training tomorrow, and I have my certificate. I didn't get it.
That's great.
And, I got a
Thank you.
t-shirt.
Well, so if,
And a tattoo of certificate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Tattoo.
Don't change the logo ever
Yeah.
again. Change the tattoo.
It's a transcendent, don't worry. It's very tasty.
In our colors.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Merged, you know.
Press on tattoos.
That's a good idea
Yeah.
for merch. Thank you, please send one in my way.
So we didn't really talk about this, but you're currently on our website on acquisition, disposition, and comms. Are those-
Construction.
Those are,
Sorry, 2 different.
Oh,
Acquisition,
okay.
disposition,
I
construction.
thought that was the same.
And
They will merge into one.
yeah. I would love to be on the design committee, but mostly just because I'm curious. so
you're more than welcome.
Oh, yeah, please.
I hope that.
With your permission, I will appoint you to all 3 in this very weird way that we have to do this.
Okay. So I have to do it, like the shaker?
Yeah, you have to learn.
Okay.
Okay,
There's a
so,
hazing process.
yeah,
Guys are rough.
This is.
you only have to.
Be careful.
Yeah, right.
No, nobody will.
So, I will take this opportunity to officially appoint Rebecca Holdings to the acquisition, disposition, construction committee, as well as the communications and community engagement and fundraising committee, as well as the design committee.
Is communications and fundraising all together?
They used to be 2 different ones.
Oh, yeah.
We combined them in part because we did very little fundraising as a board, and at one point we had like 5 members. Right? So we were just like a 1-person community.
And because we felt like
We
a community event should also be a fundraising opportunity.
That too.
That's the
I mean,
real substance.
I actually feel like
It's like another category.
Pretty much.
Anyway, we are pretty loosey-goosey with committee assignments, so if at any point
I
you
get
want
overwhelmed, I'll let you know.
overwhelmed or want to take on more.
I know.
Yeah, we don't have limits on how many board members can sit on committees, so.
Except for ADC.
Except ATC.
We would have to revise the charter, but that would just.
Right. Oh, right.
Keep something for governance.
Yeah, sure.
Great.
What's the limit?
But we're fine, because we
5
haven't,
words.
because Nate got it.
5 with Rebecca?
Yes, right,
Yeah.
5. With
And that was
Christina.
That's-
Oh, okay.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Everything's fine.
If you need me to sit down.
Nice.
Only other new business to my many Jewish comrades and my Jewish comrades. I Shana Tova, and
Didn't bring
the young people, I never know. The day of
Oh,
is a sharper.
You say, have a easy
I
day.
was like, I was gonna follow, and it was like.
Well, if you choose to fast on your own, people are happy.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other new business? Okay. But obviously it's better. I'll tell you later. Okay, any-
Motion to adjourn?
yes, there we go.
I second that.
All in favor of adjourning this meeting? Thanks, everyone. Have a great time. See you tomorrow.